Well, how's it going, everybody? The sun's out, things are warming up, and it's almost springtime. And that means it's a good chance to do the last of our preseason maintenance before we get out and ride for the season. And in my case, I know I need a new front tire, so let me show you that. So these are the stock tires, the Dunlop K750s, and I've got about 3,500 miles on them. But what I've got going on here, even though I could probably still put another 1,000 miles on them, is just a lot of weird cupping. You see, I've got this area here on the edges is a lot lower than the centers. I've got at least 1/8 of an inch here, but on these edges it's basically already flat. And so, I mean, it's the front tire, better safe than sorry, and frankly it's cheap to replace it anyway, so might as well just do it now before the season even gets going, right? And just for, guys like to get into this, right? You'll notice I am missing quite a few of these chicken strips here, right? I mean, yeah, right, that's bragging rights, isn't it? Yeah, no, good enough, whatever. What do we need to change the front tire? What tools should we have with us? And I've been over this in other videos, but these are the things that we should always have with us on the trails, and that's what I'm trying to focus on showing you at least. Of course, I've got a garage here, and I can use a myriad of different tools that are better for the job, but I like to make sure I'm using what I bring with me so that in case it happens in the middle of nowhere, I can do it. And so, real fast, just the simple basics, of course, multiple tire spoons, 3 ideally. You're going to want an air pressure gauge. You're going to want a compressor or some form of air that you can fill back up with, and some soap to lube with. Baking powder and talcum powder works if you have that too, and a new tube, of course, and then a rim strip. Those are ideally what you should have. Special tools you may not have, though, would be the 14mm hex. This is kind of a specialty item you'll have to buy at an auto store. I doubt you'll find someone in the middle of nowhere with it. And in my case, I've got it with an adapter, so I could use it with a socket wrench here. And you're also going to want probably a valve stem puller because that's just a good idea. In my case, I've actually got 2 to show you. This is the actual socket wrench that I use, just because it's small and compact. It should ideally work. I'm also forgetting to show you that you're going to need, I don't know the size of this. I think I've heard 8mm, but an 8mm Allen key. I just have an Allen key kit with me, so I've always got every size that I can have. So that's why I don't even know what size it is. Okay, well, moving on from that, let's talk about what we actually need to do to change the tire, right? So first things first, we're going to do this garage style. In the middle of nowhere, you would use a rock or a log or just lay it down on the ground. We don't have to abuse our equipment here, so I've got the tripod thing going on here. I've got 2 jack stands on the foot pegs and a floor jack underneath the oil pan, just lifting up the front tire enough that I can do this. Pretty simple, right? That's all we need to lift it up. If you want, you can get a fancy motorcycle jack or whatever you do. This is what I do. So moving on from that, now let's get to the actual install. First things first, you're going to want to release these things. If you don't, I guarantee you're going to have a hernia just trying to get that axle bolt loosened. It's your 8mm hex key, I think. Otherwise, just stuff one in there until they fit. That's how I do it. All right, loosey-goosey, nice enough. And then this little guy. Easy peasy. Now, in the older KLRs, most videos that I've seen of them, you typically have to remove the speedometer cable. I'm going to plead ignorance here. I don't see a speedometer cable, so I'm assuming these newer KLRs don't have them. You can laugh at me later if I'm wrong, because I'm not going to edit that out. Okay, axle bolts out. Still feels pretty greasy. We'll talk about that later. Look at that. Rolls right off. And as I said, no speedometer cable, so you can skip that step on the newer KLRs. Okay, this looks good enough. Probably shouldn't drop your brake rotor like that, but whatever. Next step, loosen the valve stem. And once again, because this is a tube tire, not a tubeless tire, you'll find the beads a lot easier to break, almost requires 0 effort. That's the reason that I buy tube tires, is they're cheaper and they're a lot easier to change in that regard. With tubeless tires, the idea is to create a seal so the air doesn't get out, right? Because once that seal is broken, your tire fails. And so just a little heads up as to why you should buy the tube tires. Although they're old-fashioned, that's part of the reason, is they're just a lot easier to work with. Now it's time for the embarrassing part, where I fight with tube spoons for the next hour. Oh, I should actually probably release the valve stem first, shouldn't I here? Okay, where was I? Oh, that's right, embarrassing myself. Okay, here we go. Good old tire spoons. This is the part that I really suck at, by the way. Not so hard getting them back on, but I really am not good at getting tubes off. Probably not the best spot to work by the valve stem. Well, yeah, as I thought, the front tire is going to be a lot easier than the rear tire. It's basically already off. And I'll bet you I can just He-Man this. Maybe I should edit that out. Joking. GoPro, stop recording. Voila. Next up is going to be the rim strip. And just as a side note, I may have found the perfect wheel stand holder. This is just a reel of irrigation hose, but the brake rotor just fits perfectly in there and it balances out. So let's see how that works, huh? Anyways, rim strip. So I don't know why we actually take these out and replace them every time. They're still doing the job, but it's just best practice to put a new one in. So yeah, just take the old one out, put the new one in, and keynote is just to make sure you line up your holes. Your valve stem hole needs to line up with that, otherwise you're gonna regret that. So you'll thank me later. Let's leave it that way. So all this rim strip does is it kind of prevents all these spoke studs from rubbing against your tube and popping it. That's why I say I don't really know why we changed them, because it still does the job, right? Okay, new tire time. So what I got was a front tire that just matches the rear tire, which is a Shinko 244. It says here it's a Golden Boy trail tire, so I'm not really sure what that means, but I just kind of left it out here in the sun because I'm told that warms it up and makes it a lot easier to work with. And it's a size 3.0 by 21 inch rim in case you're wanting to switch from metric. Okay, so I'm going to do what I did last time, which is put the tube in the tire first. Some guys put the tube on the rim first. I found that the tube in the tire worked better for me last time. We'll just try it that way. Before that though, I'm going to take off my lock nuts on the valve stem. You want one inside, one outside to prevent your valve stem from shredding off when it spins inside the tire. This is my old tube. I like to use the spare tubes that I keep on the bike, just that I've always got a new tube in the bike that should theoretically work. Hopefully I don't regret this, but at least if I do, I can go get the tire changed before I'm relying on it out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so that way I've always got a fresh tube on the bike. Okay, tube's in there. Grab a little burst of air just to make sure it holds its shape. And then, last time I lined up my valve stem and just shoved it in that way. I mean, I don't know if I even need to lube this stuff. It's so loose compared to the rear tire. Shoot, I can practically put this on like a mountain bike tire. Okay, I think I'm being too greedy here. Okay. If you feel a tube when you're poking, stop poking. Also make sure if you fall on your face that you get it on video. Also, Captain Obvious safety note, never get your fingers in between the bead and the rim. Almost there. Okay. All right. Now just give me back my spoon. Valve stem's still there. That's always a good sign. Hopefully it holds there and I don't embarrass myself. Put that lock nut back on. Peel this off while you still can. Put some air in it as it explodes. Well, nice knowing everybody. You usually want about 25 psi maybe, and we're just about right on the money there. 23, I think. All right, now you're just being stubborn. Okay, finished tightening the lock nut here. Boy, this is exciting to watch, isn't it? Okay, I think we're good there. Put my cap back on. And right about now is when I realized that this is a directional tire, and I've done it backwards, and I got to redo all of that. I hope there's no arrows on here. I don't see any arrows. We're good. Okay, put it back on the bike. Okay, make sure you got your little, whatever these little things are called again, lined up and on the right side. Not that big of a deal, but make sure they're on there. Not sure how hard it's going to be putting this brake rotor back in place. That sometimes can be a pain. Whoop. What'd I tell you? How embarrassing. This is probably a good time to slide that in if I can. Okay. Sounds good. Tighten that up while you still can. Nothing's happening. Okay, now she's going. I think these are called pressure bolts, something like that. I'm really bad at terminology. Anyways, get those on there. I'm assuming I should probably check my brakes real fast because I've been messing with them now, they may not work. But all in all, not too bad. It's a little hard to tell how long it took me with the camera since I had to do a lot of retakes. That is the essence of filming, but I think this took me about a half an hour this time, so definitely an easier tire to change than the rear tire. The problem with the rear tire is it's just a lot more rubber, smaller diameter. It's just a lot more effort. This front tire is just like a really big mountain bike tire, to be honest. So, front brake. Well, it works now, but let's go for a test ride. All right, well, before I get on this ride, two things I forgot to talk about, and I know someone's going to mention them. Wheel balance. I'm told with off-road bikes, you don't generally have to do it. I don't even know how to do it, but as far as I can tell, it's not spinning or anything. So I think it's balanced enough. That's what the test ride's for, right? If it wobbles, something's wrong. The other thing, greasing the axles. Now, I purposely did not grease the front axle, and that's because I'm going to make a second video about that at a different time. So, enough holding me up. I'm gonna go ride now. Can't wait. All right, here we go. High-speed test. Well, it's about as high speed as you get in a KLR, so 55, 60, we're good. What do you guys think of my new tires? Not your thing? Not really into ostriches and tires? Whatever. Freaking ostrich. Well, there we go. Speed check, corner check. One thing I can say is these tires are a lot noisier than what I used to have. Sounds like I'm running mud tires now. Anyways, I should do this more often. It's a lot of fun. You know, riding motorcycles and all that. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.